Good afternoon, and welcome to the November edition of the 2021 AABE webinar series. I'm Tracy Woods, Vice President of Operations for the association. Our topic for today's discussion is diversity in clean energy, or what is being promoted as the DiCE Collaborative. I'm joined by a diverse panel of illustrious leaders, some of whom work in industries we don't usually hear from on this platform. What has brought them together is a common focus on providing solutions to the challenge of diversity in clean energy. We invite you to stay tuned to hear all about how we came together and how this solution is so much more than a roll of the dice. That was a bad pun. I couldn't resist. But before we begin our conversation, I need to share a few rules of engagement. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat box during this session, and I anticipate quite a few questions. We will reserve at least 15 minutes toward the end of the program so that our panelists can respond to your questions. So I remind you that our AABE theme for 2021 is connecting the dots. And please let us know how we're doing by completing the survey at the end of this broadcast. So with no further ado, allow me to introduce our panelists for the afternoon. Please join me in welcoming Amy Bond. She is Energy and Sustainability Program Manager at TMobile. And a little bit about Amy. Ms. Bond was selected as one of the top 100 energy professionals in the USA in 2019 by Environmental Leader. This award recognizes movers and shakers who are helping all of us drive innovation in the environmental and energy management space. As I said, she's a sustainability sourcing manager at T-Mobile, where she has driven this kind of innovation for more than a decade. Her expertise includes power and utilities procurement, building energy optimization schemes, corporate goal positioning, carbon disclosure leadership, and holistic clean energy strategies, including securing one of T-Mobile's largest virtual power purchase agreements. Ms. Bond is a graduate of the University of Kansas with a degree in psychology, and she will complete her MBA later this year. She's got about 6 weeks left, I guess. Prior to her Get Green career, Amy was an award-winning weekly newspaper publisher and columnist in Washington State. Also joining us on the panel this afternoon is Darrell Booker. Meet Darrell. He's your techie's favorite techie who leads one of Microsoft's most important racial equity commitments. That is the nonprofit Tech Accelerator for Black and African-American communities. That's a national program designed at leveling the tech playing field for nonprofits serving our most underserved communities. Prior to leading this program, Darrell served in an advisor role, helping the world's largest nonprofits, such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, American Cancer Society, and the Salvation Army on their digital transformation to the cloud. Darrell has served in CIO and CTO roles in the past, leading teams of developers and nonprofits, primarily child welfare, as well as other industries such as automotive and banking. Darrell also has an entrepreneurial spirit, co-founding a tech startup for the fitness industry using hundreds of gyms across the US and Canada. So as you get back to the gym, think of Darrell. Also joining us today is Cheryl Comer. Cheryl is a strategic account manager in the sales and relationship management organization at Duke Energy Sustainable Solutions. She is responsible for developing and sustaining long-term strategic customer relationships for mutual growth, profitability, trust, loyalty, and risk management. Her assigned strategic accounts are FedEx, Kroger, Microsoft, and T-Mobile. Cheryl brings a wealth of experience from the education and legal industries. Earlier in her career, Cheryl served as a high school principal at an alternative school in Phoenix, Arizona. Under her leadership, graduation rates and test scores increased. She is also a licensed attorney in North Carolina and Louisiana, and practiced law in New Orleans before joining Duke in 2018. She continues to practice law on a pro bono basis as an attorney with Legal Aid of North Carolina. Cheryl's first love, however, is the cello. In fact, she plays the violin, viola, cello, and bass, but is proficient in cello. She's a graduate of the University of Michigan and also earned her master's degree in educational leadership from Western Michigan University and has a Juris Doctor from the University of Detroit School of Law. And finally, join us in welcoming Faustina Vincent. Faustina is a socially conscious entrepreneur who recognizes the time-critical opportunity to limit our impact on the environment and sees new market opportunities in renewable energy. As president and co-founder of VGI Energy Solutions, LLC, a clean energy company working with portfolio owners, utilities, colleges, churches, and purchasers of renewable energy credits, she brings thought leadership, practical know-how, and technical expertise to deliver energy solutions that enhance climate security and promote community resilience, primarily in underserved communities. Faustina supported the recently completed 1.1 megawatt PV solar component for the Bronzeville Community Microgrid. And that's a project that tests the concepts of the nation's first utility-operated microgrid cluster, or basically a grid of microgrids. She specializes in helping businesses address the ways in which they operate day to day, helping them discover ways of decreasing their negative impact on the environment so they're better positioned for the markets of the future. She is bilingual, hailing from Puerto Rico, and has a BA in commerce from Chicago's DePaul University. She also participated in executive leadership programs at Northwestern, Kellogg School of Graduate Management, the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, and the Yale School of Management. So, audience, please join me in welcoming Amy, Darrell, Cheryl, and Faustina to our webinar platform.
Hello.
And you probably didn't hear that applause, panelists, but trust me, it was thunder. All right, so DiCE. I'm sure everybody's got that question in mind. This first question is for Cheryl. Cheryl, what is DiCE?
Tracy, good afternoon, and thank you so much for having DiCE on this webinar. Honored to be here. You know, at Duke Energy, our purpose is to power the lives of our customers and the vitality of communities. And DiCE is a tangible, actionable extension of Duke Energy's purpose and mission and vision. It's a coalition. The coalition is sponsored by the Duke Energy Sustainable Solutions. We work collaboratively with Duke Energy's supplier engagement team, 3 strategic accounts, which you mentioned earlier, and 3 representatives of diverse suppliers in clean energy, 1 who's joined us today. DiCE has 2 executive sponsors. You know Melody Bird Birmingham, Queen M, I like to call her because she is absolutely amazing. She's the SVP and Chief Administrative Officer, and she's, I believe, a board member at AABE. Irvin Sloan is my manager and is phenomenal. He's VP of Strategic Accounts. So we have executive backing. And just by way of context, a little story of who planted the seed of DiCE, and that is Amy Bond. So when I started the position, I knew that T-Mobile was assigned to me, and during our one-on-one session with Amy last year, I asked her, what's top of mind? What's on your mind? And she said, I need to know what Duke Energy is doing, or I'd like to know what Duke Energy is doing around the processes to identify and retain and utilize Tier 2 diverse spend, is how she put it. And I had absolutely no idea what she meant. But after a little bit of research, it just all made so much sense, right? I realized that a lot of times these diverse suppliers don't have enough resources to compete with their non-diverse counterparts, with their larger non-diverse counterparts. And I thought, well, I'll put together a PowerPoint for Amy, and I thought that would probably be a boring way to present Duke Energy's strategy. And so I decided to ask her if she'd help me plan a roundtable, because I thought this issue transcends. It's not just a Duke Energy T-Mobile issue. This is a universal issue. How do we bring everyone to the table in an equitable manner? So Amy and I started planning a roundtable. We had it 2 days in April. The first day we just talked about how diverse suppliers were captured. How did companies utilize them? And we talked about that, and we realized that most of the diverse suppliers were held on spreadsheets or hoarded by spreadsheets, that there was no repository, a national repository, if you will, where corporations who were seeking diverse suppliers could go to and find them at no cost, right? The second day we had diverse suppliers come and speak to the panelists, and we all were amazed by their stories and by their perseverance and their resilience. And so I witnessed all of this positive energy, and I thought, we better create a coalition. And so I asked individual members, are you interested in coming together, and let's do something that's actionable, not just talk, not just commitments, not just corporate commitments to do better. Let's make something happen. And that's exactly what we've done so far. And so DiCE is, we have a visionary outcome. Our visionary outcome is to advocate, utilize, drive visibility, and open doors of opportunity for diverse suppliers in clean energy. We have three key objectives. The bedrock objective, the most sexy objective, if you will, is this database or this platform, the DiCE AABE platform. As you know, Microsoft is sponsoring this database or this platform, and AABE is the surrogate. And so it's just a wonderful way for all of us to come together and make an ecosystem, or make sure that this ecosystem of clean energy providers, whether it's the traditional energy providers or clean energy that we think of with hydro or biomass or biogas or solar, right? But then we're also adding minority-owned legal services, the attorneys that help make these deals happen. And we're adding consulting, the consultants who help these deals happen. We're adding tech. And so we're also adding Black farmers or indigenous farmers who have land. So it's going to be a huge ecosystem so that every single corporation can no longer say, I don't see them. I don't see the diverse suppliers. This is a way to say, here they are. The other really great aspect of this is that it's going to be interactive. And Darrell can talk a little bit more because he's actually the one who's doing this. And what you don't know is that Darrell is here with me today in Charlotte, and I've had a wonderful opportunity to get to know his essence and his passion. But he can talk a little bit more about the database or the platform, I'm sorry. But basically there is a corporate interaction or interactivity aspect so that corporations can put their RFPs. What we determined at that roundtable is that a lot of diverse suppliers don't have the resources and they don't have the accessibility. And so this is a way that we can directly address the accessibility piece. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. So yeah, very helpful. I was going to ask the other panelists how they got engaged. I think we've heard a little bit about that. But there's opportunity. Okay, what I'm hearing in your response, Cheryl, is about opportunity. So let me go around to the other panelists, and we'll start with Amy. So we recognize that you got the whole DiCE conversation started with your second tier spend question for Cheryl. Beyond that, would you share what you see as opportunities in this platform?
Absolutely. And Tracy, thank you so much for having me on this panel today. It's my great opportunity to learn. And as I shared with all of you, before we really went live, was to say, this DiCE project was a boulder that we've been pushing up this hill. And I mean, suddenly, because of Cheryl Comer and others, it's going down the other side, and we're chasing after it. And that's just so exciting to experience. But, I'm really just an echo chamber. When I asked that question of Cheryl a year or so ago, I was just echoing what I was hearing in this industry. I had an opportunity to be a speaker at Verge, which I was really excited about. And then they told me what the topic was. It was kind of last minute thing. And they said, hey, what's T-Mobile doing to increase diversity and inclusion in renewable energy? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea what we're doing. We were getting surveys from activist organizations saying, what are we doing in this space? We're getting questions from investors saying, what are we doing in this space? So, I was just shouting out into the universe, what are we doing? What are we going to do? And thank the elements for Cheryl Comer, because she responded. She heard me. She heard that universal cry, and she has taken that totally onto herself to create this DiCE initiative, and then to make this a resource and actually take action to start solving for this gap. And for me, my director specifically has said to me, when we're going back out in the marketplace, for our renewables and to keep maintaining our 100% renewable goal every year, reaching at the end of this year, we have to be able to guarantee that it's going to be fair and equitable and just. Go solve that problem. So all props to Cheryl Comer and Duke and their fantastic relationship management and their action-oriented response to customer relations. So props.
Very good. Yeah, she's hard to say no to, and you're right that you won't find a more passionate leader, on this topic. So I understand. I understand. Faustina, how about you? Opportunities with this DiCE AABE platform.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Cheryl, for the opportunity to work with DiCE and really Amy and everyone on the team. I think the opportunities are immense because, one, climate change is real and everyone has a footprint. And for me, it's all hands on deck. So having a platform like DiCE provides a voice and awareness that, I hadn't imagined, 14 years ago when I got in the clean energy industry. So being able to, say something, being able to provide our services at a more robust situation just makes it all more, doable and reasonable for us. So the opportunities at DiCE, I think, are endless, and they're just wanted and needed today. So again, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, certainly. And your view, very appreciative. When I heard about it, to have your input, being in the clean energy space as a supplier, and to incorporate your perspective is I think really impressive, because very often we build it and then bring it, and that's not necessarily the best way. So appreciate that feedback. Darrell, how about you? Opportunities with the DiCE platform that you're going to build, as they say.
No pressure, I guess. No, but I think the opportunity is to definitely, ensuring that, corporates of all sizes, and including the Microsofts, including the Dukes, and whoever else out there, that are really committed to, working with diverse suppliers, to be able to have somewhere where they can, find, attract, and, actually seek out those individuals. For me, the biggest thing is ensuring that, the narrative around, being unable to find, diverse talent, we kind of destroy that narrative. And that's what one thing, that really hope that this platform will provide, But then I think also too, for those that are, watching and looking, and, those that are, have that desire to get in this clean energy space, as an entrepreneur, have that route and know where they can go to be able to market themselves and their services. And a lot of times that is, a barrier for a lot of people. And, they want to do things, they have these great ideas, they want to start a company, but just feel like they may not be able to put themselves out there in a place where they can be received and sought after. So, that's what, I'm really excited about with this. As I look at the work that, me and my team is doing at Microsoft, and it's really about just empowering the organizations like AABE, like the collective of DiCE, to just have the highest impact of their mission and whatever that is. And if we can take what we do on a daily basis in our sleep with our eyes closed and build platforms, and that could make, such a positive impact on, not only people's lives and, their, generations to come after that, that's just what we see as our duty and our responsibility here.
Okay, appreciate that. Appreciate that response. Big, it's big. Did have a question, another question, because the platform is being built. Mm-hmm. And I'm reminded of this. What is the question? If you build it, they will come. That's a statement. But the question is, how do we ensure that as we build this platform, how do we ensure a strategy to direct suppliers and employers to the DiCE AABE platform for them to leverage that as a resource? How do we get that done? Go back to Cheryl on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll take a stab at this. The way that we're going to ensure is, first of all, Amy, Dennis, and I have been meeting with several energy providers, energy trade organizations, corporations, nonprofits, and they're all are the general consensus is how do we join? How can we be a part of this? And so our answer is you can become a part by making a commitment to utilize these diverse suppliers that are in this ecosystem or in this platform. And also, we need to work with, and what we're planning to do with these people who say they want to, or these entities who want to partner with us, is that we're asking them to do either a dating, a 5-minute dating, or we're working so that we're filling this gap. So next year we will be doing a series of trying to recruit, and I know that AABE has their finger on the pulse for these diverse suppliers. I think you all have a big, you know who they are nationwide. I think so that's going to be a huge part, but I think there are also others that maybe AABE doesn't know about. So working together, partnering with various entities for next year, just to do some recruitment efforts, marketing efforts. But as you said, Tracy, if we build it, this is water on dry land. I think that with all of the ESG goals, with all of the corporate commitments to spend, I know Kroger's commitment is 10 billion by 2030. Duke has spent 6 billion since 2016. I think that with all of these commitments, this ecosystem or this platform is going to be very helpful to a lot of stakeholders. So I think it will come together quite easily.
All right. I agree with you. You're right. There's so much. You mentioned the ecosystem and just the universe of people. One of the things that happens, I believe, when you take these type of initiatives and open them up, then some of the unusual, the partners that you did not have formally show up and integrate, and the whole is better once folks recognize that there's something out there, that it is a solutions platform, and they either need a solution or willing to help in providing the solution. So yeah, full agreement. All right. So we're building the platform, have some stakeholders, as you mentioned, there are others to come. So from a timeline perspective, what do you see as next steps, the next step?
Well,
We talked to the, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I was going to say, I'll defer to Darrell on time.
I was about to say maybe Darrell.
Yeah, but our goal is quarter one. Quarter one of 2022, the platform will go live.
All right. See, he's gonna, no pressure, Darrell.
No pressure. But no, we current and next steps is, going through a little bit of what we, our ideation process. And, this is something that, we really employ to ensure anything that, we get our hands in and that we're helping to build is exactly what, you all as an organization and as an initiative really want to do. It's very easy to get a lot of nerds in a room and just build some stuff. But you end up coming out of it and it's not what you wanted. So what we do is working to really flush out. And a lot of this is where a lot of this terminology came from. It was being referred to as a database, but the more and more I got involved, I was like, all right, y'all got to stop using that term. It is much, database just limits so much as to what this is, because it's not just a list of names and emails and phone numbers. It is much more of a platform that is going to have, various elements and features in it. Whether it's, a place to go for various education, a place to go to view and respond to RFPs, a place to go where you as a supplier can, put out your profile and your certifications and who you are and put in your best place forward. A place for, companies to, be real explicit as to, what are those characteristics and qualities of suppliers that they're looking for. So as we started to flush out that, it was very evident that, this is, definitely something that, you want to make sure that you put the time and effort and understanding that we're meeting, the needs here. So with that said, Abe, I think, there's some meetings coming up later on this month where we're, flushing out more of that and really be at that confident point so that we can start building and be ready for that Q1.
All right. Working my way back to Amy, I'm thinking about Faustina. As you talk about, Darrell, you talked about some of the attributes and, what's in next steps. And I guess as I think about attributes, Faustina and I talked about some of the other platforms that are out there. I'll call them platforms that are out there. So Faustina, as you hear what's next, responses, reaction to that, because you're a supplier in the clean energy space.
No, thank you. I think, if this had been available a decade ago, the amount of impact we could have been making on climate change would be so robust with what, Cheryl mentioned and the monies that are available to take action. So really excited for what's next. I, personally have a calling of bringing people together to push the envelope and accomplish great things. So I think really that's what's next for DiCE, in addition to, just having a resource for people to connect the dots and, figure out how to reduce their, costs or their carbon or upgrade their, infrastructure. This is going to be something that's going to help a lot of people. And with this decade, that we have, the decade of action, there's a lot of corporations have commitments for 2030. And this will be a wonderful resource to really, quantum leap and move the needle on climate change. So I think this is a really great opportunity for everyone.
All right. Great response. Appreciate that. Really appreciate that coming from your perspective. So, what's next? Amy, you started the conversation, or actually this great idea that now is framed out and it's a platform now. Next steps from your perspective at T-Mobile.
Yeah, Faustina, I really appreciate your comment about if only this had happened 10 years ago. I was thinking that just the other day when someone asked me, why is now the right time for DiCE? And I thought, well, heck, the right time was, a decade ago. But, there's before the wheel and there's after the wheel, right? So we're after the wheel, and we're just going to move forward with that. And I'm almost frighteningly excited about what this platform, Darrell, could result in next year. Just from a personal experience, when I think about how I first engaged with our virtual power purchase agreement, it was at a Smart Energy Decisions conference. I was just baby steps, just starting to learn. And from that first experience in Austin, Texas, that's where I met everyone who helped to eventually execute on that major deal with Duke Energy. And I say that because I know Cheryl's been in conversation with SED. I'm about to have a conversation with SED. And when DiCE and the platform is presented at organizations and conferences like that, oh my goodness, help us for the change we need. And we can reach Faustina's goals of really accomplishing something this decade. So it's almost frightening, but I'm pretty excited that this little seed is growing so quickly.
All right. It is growing quickly, and your fingerprints are all over it. So thank you, Amy. Thank you for that. I'll take a pause very quickly and share with our audience. This is the time to leverage the chat box. Put your questions in the chat. I'm seeing a few in the chat. I know there are many more. And so as we step through, I want us to make sure plenty of questions, Mike says. Yeah, Mike, I saw some of them. So I want you to leverage the chat for the audience. That's what we get with AABE. So when we do webinars, aside from getting great material content, as you are today, we also prioritize the interactivity so that you as audience get your questions answered. So feel free. And now's the time. Let's see, speaking of that, I saw something. So I'm gonna break my own rules and start with the chat questions earlier. There was one about spend. And so this is probably appropriate, and Cheryl will let me know, but there's a question in the chat talks about diverse spend. And the question is, what do you see making the most significant impact in the community regarding supplier diversity spend? You mentioned tier 1 and tier 2. Is there a difference, or is one more impactful than the other?
So Amy framed her question as tier 2, but as we drafted our charter and had conversations with Melody and Irvin, Melody suggested to broaden it. So not just tier 2, now we want to increase tier 1 and tier 2 and almost see if we can also make connections between them so that even non-diverse tier 1 are working with these smaller, if you will, diverse companies. So there's really no distinction. We're trying to bolster, I guess, both tier 1 and tier 2. And I hope that that answers your question.
I believe so. Yeah, the question was around, distinction. And, what I heard you say is, it's broad. And so you're looking at, and you mentioned Melody Birmingham, and that's a very informed perspective. At one point, Melody was Chief Procurement Officer, I believe, for Duke. And so taking a look at the total spend, I think that was good direction. So I believe you answered the question. Yeah. Yeah. Which from, I guess, from a diverse supplier perspective is a good answer too, because the pie just becomes bigger, I would think.
We've worked closely with Melody, but also with the supplier engagement arm. So Andrew Greer has been in the meetings with us when we're creating the fields for this platform. And, we have the diverse suppliers with us telling us, listen, we don't want you to build this for us. It's not, we did this for you all, to your earlier point, Tracy. It's all of us coming to the table and making this happen. But going back to the point with Andrew Greer and Melody, Duke has just had a supplier university. So day one was recruiting suppliers who had not done business with Duke Energy. Day two is expanding. So those who have done business, making sure that they're also, like, if they've traditionally done wind, now we're doing wind and solar. And so our own supplier engagement team is working rigorously to make sure that our spend is, increasing and identifying. And so it's not just that we're looking to AABE, we're also looking in our own house. And of course we have, Melody and Andrew and Brian Umstead and all of the team right there engaged with us, which also makes it really special, not only to have the diverse suppliers, but also to have our own family, helping and working and pulling with us.
Right. Collaborative. Yes, indeed.
Right.
Collaborative. Yeah. Collaborative effort. I've got another question I just took a look at. I want to throw this out there. I don't believe there's any wrong answers to this question. But I believe it was asked in this forum because we have you all as thought leaders, and it's asking for your ideas about a solution. So the question is that public agencies and utilities are focusing or hosting so many listening sessions, which is good for increasing representation, participation, and those things. But the term is, but they are wonky and burdensome to an already overburdened organizations and communities. So the question is about suggestions around balance. And so, you have your various perspectives, but for the listening sessions and other ways, what are your suggestions about, communication and balance? I'll start with Amy. Amy, so from a corporate perspective, your perspective.
Oh, that mute button. It was running away from me. I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm informed enough to answer that question specifically. It's a really good one. And I know how just attending, feedback sessions and feedback loops, it's nice to be heard, but it also is a burden, right? To really get out there and check in to see, well, what happened? Where'd that go? Where's the policy? Where's that going to influence me in less than 8 years, however long these things take to really become, pen to paper. But I will say from T-Mobile's perspective, and really something I know that we share with Kroger is, this is not for us a box to check. We have a target for diverse spend. I work very closely with our supplier diversity group. But heck, if we overshoot that target, great, because the point is we want the best and brightest out there. We need the best ideas. We need the best suppliers. We need the best solutions. And we can't find the best suppliers and the best solutions without seeing everybody, without having that representation. So Dennis George with Kroger, always likes to say, pretty talk is pretty talk, but show me action. And I get, more excited. So that's what I'm excited about. The platform here is to say, feedback loops are one thing, but let's get a resource out there so corporations like mine and all kinds of industry leaders can go and have a resource to start making change on all that feedback. If that provides any value to the question.
Great point. It reminds me of when Cheryl called me about DiCE. And one of the first things she said, she gave me the timeline, but she also talked about being action oriented. And even with webinars, I said, well, we do webinars. She said, no, we're past that. So while webinars are nice,
Webinars are so April.
She said you gotta have action, right? So yeah, appreciate that, Amy. Faustina, I'm sure as a supplier, you're plugged into a lot of these listening sessions and others. So balance. I mean, what are your suggestions about balance? And I guess let me tie this to DiCE. What do you see? Does the platform help with any of that?
With balance, oh yeah, it provides access. And that's the first step, is giving people access to, take action. It's all about the action boss, right? And so just really having the resources is something that I never had in the 14 years I've been in this industry. I really had to piece it all together, and it was out of balance. It was really like, how am I going to make this happen? And well, I have to learn. And today, what DiCE is providing is a resource that is just, valuable. Sorry, my phone is ringing here on my FaceTime. Nonetheless, it will provide balance, I think.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate that. You said a resource. Yeah, we get that. Let me ask the tech guy. Technology solve many challenges. So what do you think about the platform? This whole question about listening and other listening sessions, et cetera, and how does the platform contribute to balance from your perspective as the tech guy?
The platform is that tool that just, brings, everyone's passion, commitment, desire, and vision together. That's just really how I see, any type of tool being used. It's almost one of those things you're very thankful of it being there. And what it can provide. But at the end of the day, too, it is a result of something else. So, kind of back to, what I was chatting about earlier, just making sure that this, really checks off the boxes of exactly what the mission is for DiCE, and everyone in this space. And, as long as that happened, the tool will be, very, very complimentary to the people that have, going to be using it and need it for it to be there.
Got it. More questions are rolling in. Maybe I should make the suggestion, earlier. So here's a question. The question is about goals for the platform, the collaborative around the platform. What are the goals for 2022? And as a part B to this, what are the metrics associated to ensure reaching those goals? So
those are such fantastic questions. I feel compelled to answer. We don't have any. I'm just joking. No, so you have to remember DiCE is young, right? So we had the roundtable in April. Our first meeting was in August of this year. And we meet on a quarterly basis because we didn't want this to be burdensome or wonky, I think were the two words that were used earlier. We didn't want either one of those. We wanted this to be authentic and grassroots. And I'd love to hear Amy's perspective too, but we're kind of putting the pieces together, but then we realize that we have this ball that's now, getting bigger and it's glowing and it's talking to us and we're like, whoa. So we have the key performance indicators in our charter, which is still in proposed form because we can't have our executive sponsor sign until we have our ducks in a row. So we're kind of building the airplane as we ride. So unfortunately, we don't have any as a collective, KPIs that we can share at this point, but we'll get there. Right now, it's just, working with Darrell, we've worked together to get the fields and what we want this platform to look like. But we're not there yet, just in all honesty. Amy, did you want to add to that since we've talked about this before?
It's hard to beat the way Cheryl frames things up. So I won't try to beat it, but just to contribute that, sometimes an idea is just too good for itself. We couldn't wait. I don't think we anticipated this kind of response, the parched earth that you were talking about. I don't know that we could have predicted, this sort of meteoric rise of an idea. And, to put that genie back in a box doesn't help anyone. And so, I have great faith in the professionals, the folks we're working with, that we will get all of our guardrails set, we will get all of our measurements in place. And the idea was just too good to wait. It couldn't wait to get out of that box or the bottle, so to speak.
All right. Can appreciate that. Certainly can appreciate that. And it's aggressive. I mean, I think when you take the risk to be transparent and open it up and get feedback, it's like a lot of things. When you open it up and you want to do it right, we learned a long time ago, you don't know what you don't know. But as you start having these conversations and hear these contributions or expectations, then the scope can grow in terms of what is possible. And then there are all those things that we have to do from a practical perspective to manage that. So appreciate that.
And let me just throw out real quick from a T-Mobile perspective, from our former CEO who had quite a reputation, if anyone remembers John Legere from just a few years ago, he famously said, okay, T-Mobile, before they acquired Sprint, we're going to be 100% renewable energy source from renewables by the end of 2021. And so the energy team goes, oh, we are now. Oh, okay. Well, guess we're going to go make that happen. We had to make our own path, and what were the different, resources and money we were going to spend, and, what was the diverse portfolio we were going to create. I mean, it was a wild, incredible goal to go pursue, and we're grateful for it. But man, when he first said it, we're like, okay, guess we're going to go make that happen. So small version of that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, right. That's how we make progress, in a lot of ways. Okay. And then there's part of it that's planned for, as Cheryl mentioned as well. So, and you mentioned also, Amy, after, the big picture's out there, then we have to marshal the resources to make that happen. Right. So Darrell, in terms of 2022, because you're building this thing, what's your take on, I guess, scope? What needs that? What's your take on that?
So, I think any successful application platform that you build, really involves, feedback from the community. So, when I look at, launching anything like this, very much a phased approach. And under terms MVP, I think, minimal viable product, that's kind of that mindset of saying, okay, what is it that's, needed at a minimum to solve the need? And that's what we want to address, kind of in that first iteration. But, any and all applications need to be, living and breathing document. It's like, for all you iPhone users, it's like, you love those apps that is always getting an update and there's something cool, and you hate the ones that's like, man, this is the same thing for 3 years ago. Like, so, when we think of, this platform, that needs to be that same mindset and continue to, evolve it and grow it. to meet, primarily the members' needs, and those members, probably skewed towards the suppliers, and making sure that, it's providing, that platform that allows them to be able to just, put their best foot forward and really get themselves out there so that they can, get those gigs, those jobs, those contracts. I don't know what the right word y'all call in this industry. Maybe it's contracts. Get those contracts so that they can continue to grow their business.
All right. Yeah, I think Faustina calls them contracts. I got a question in the chat, and this is, I'll start with Faustina. It has to do with clean energy. How well do you see clean energy adopted in underserved communities? So I know that's in your wheelhouse, as we say, Faustina.
Well, yes, our last project was in an environmental justice community where we serve, low-income Americans. There were 660 families, 1,000 utility customers. And it was an opportunity. We beat out 83 other respondents, and we had a footprint to do the solar. Where do we want to install this? And our choice was the last low-income housing community in Chicago, in the Brownsville community. And what's great about that is that if the state was to ever have the power go out, this community will have its lights back on. And that's meaningful. I mean, what you may not know about me, I studied in Europe. I went global to act local. And we won a challenge there, and it was the Brownsville Community Project. Like, we brought it back, and it became this project we did. And we also created our ECHO platform, which we called MARIA. It stands for Mitigation, Adaptation, Resilience, Innovation, and Awareness. And awareness is key. I think that's what this webinar is all about. It's really raising people's awareness, letting them know what's available. Because when climate change hits, the ones that are impacted the most are the least of these. And so it matters that underserved communities are cared for. And I'm really, excited, hopeful for the Build Back Better, plan. Hopefully there'll be, more opportunities for environmental justice, and so forth. In Illinois, we had legislation recently passed called CEJA, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. So that legislation is monumental because it's putting in a lot of money to, even build minorities in developing and becoming entrepreneurs like me. So I'm really excited that underserved communities will be served, and it's wanted and needed.
All right. What was that term? Go global to act local?
Yeah. Go global, act local, something like that.
Act local. Okay, I like that. I like that. I think I'm going to borrow that. I'm going to give you credit the first couple times.
No, it's not mine. I don't know where I heard it, but the intention is to broaden our minds and to, in Europe, the European Union that we worked with, they're really cutting edge and taking it on climate action. And so, that's what I'm up to.
Okay. All right. I got another good one. And I got to thank Mike, our producer, for keeping these in front of us. So, question, how would an initiative like DiCE affect the workplace? Blue collar workers, diverse workers. Your thoughts, Cheryl?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. And I think Darrell actually had a comment before.
Oh, yeah? Okay. And I cut him
tried
off.
to say something.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Well,
I'm monitoring his mic time. He was over. So. No, just joking. Darrell, go ahead. You have a comment.
No, I'll just add real quick, just following up on the, the underserved community, and definitely, this opportunity to, provide these, viable energy resources for them. I also look at, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, for those entrepreneurs that are coming out of these underserved communities and, are wanting to get into this space, this platform allows them to be able to market themselves outside of, quote unquote, their hood. You follow what I'm getting at? And, oftentimes there's so many great minds that are, wanting to innovate and do these things. And, there's so much for them to overcome. They gotta learn the art of business. They gotta learn this, they gotta learn that beyond just the tech and all of that. And then it's like, okay, how do I, have a level playing field when presenting, me and my newfound company and what we have to offer, versus someone else who, may just be living in a different area. Therefore, they're kind of, rubbing elbows, with different people. So when you can bring, these things into this digital space like this, you really start to change the lives of those who, normally would not have been, networking with the right people to have those opportunities.
Indeed. Indeed, as you answered, appreciate that answer, Darrell, and I apologize for missing you before. But as you responded and you talked about the platform, being a somewhat of an opportunity, a marketplace, if you will. I'm thinking about Amy and what initiated the call. So, Amy, in terms of that impact on diverse businesses, your thoughts around that?
I'm going to frame this in a way that I kind of want to get some information out there. So I think it'll tie to your question. But one of the other great opportunities that DiCE has presented is not just the platform, right? But it's connected so many people and so many ideas and so many conversations. And I'm just going to give one quick example because I don't want to be the final comment. But T-Mobile has a program called Next Tech, where we are out in the marketplace paying to train BIPOC students to become the next builders of our cell towers, right? We need to build more. We're building out 5G. Well, let's get some, diverse folks in this space. It's a great career with good money. And so we're having some conversation within DiCE, with our partners going, well, who's going to keep building all these wind turbines, and who's going to be maintaining these solar arrays? And can we emulate something like that and kind of look within and train within and, build just a whole, universe, right, of people that are connected and connecting jobs and connecting opportunities. So, there's discussion and networking that's so valuable in addition to the platform these organizations, enable.
All right. Appreciate that. Yeah. And again, when you get folks together, and particularly given the focus area, because there are all kinds of networks and platforms out there, but we're talking about business and diverse business. And so there's when we look at the level of business in diverse communities, this goes directly to that, your initiative. So appreciate that. That's a good plug. Got one more question, and I'll answer this because we're getting close to wrapping. But this question really is, how would an initiative like DiCE affect the workplace? And one of the things that we know is that diverse businesses hire diverse talent primarily. And so when we do well by diverse business, we've got Faustina, I saw her nod. And so, diverse businesses tend to focus on that. Not that other businesses don't, but when we do well for diverse businesses, it tends to benefit diverse communities. I'll pause there. Anyone want to add anything to that? No? All right. Yeah, I've got 2:58 here in the East. And so what I want to do with the audience, I want you to join me in thanking our panelists today. I think they did a marvelous job. And thank you. Thank you for being with us. I believe this, I'll extend the invitation. I don't believe this will be the last time we talk and present about the platform. So the DiCE A platform, thank you for spending time with us. Got one or two things and then we're going to wrap. Want to share with our audience that our 45th annual conference is coming up. It'll be May 2nd through the 5th. We're going to be in sunny Tampa, Florida. So for the membership, it's an opportunity to get your professional development done in 2022. So you also need to know that safety is number one, of course, in our industry, the energy industry, no different with our conference. So we are planning with COVID-19 safety protocols, planning together with the hotel to make sure that it is a safe gathering. More to come on that. And again, thank you for our panelists. And this concludes our November edition of the AABE webinar. I want you to have a great rest of the day. Take care.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Tracy. Bye.
Hey.